Hello friends, welcome back to Carla's Kitchen. Welcome for the first time, whichever the case may be. Today we are making banana pancakes. It's just, what else can I do with my ripe bananas? And when I don't want to throw them away and I don't feel like making banana bread, this is a lot quicker than making banana bread, I promise you that. And it goes well with, I'll link an oven bacon recipe. So if you throw your bacon in the oven, whip up your pancakes, they should come out at about the same time. What I've got here is a fork for mashing. If you have a masher you'd rather use, go for it. Mixing bowl, pancake mix. I've got 3 bananas. You can use 2 to 3 depending on the size and your tastes. These are kind of small, as you can see, you know, next to my hand. It's about hand size. And then I've also got out, because I'm using pancake mix, I want to zhuzh it up a little bit here. So I've got vanilla extract. There's the word, vanilla extract, butter extract, and cinnamon. If you don't like cinnamon, leave it out. I like to add that. And when I don't have bananas, I'll use like, you can either process up some apple if you have fresh apple. If you have a little thing of applesauce, you can replace the bananas with applesauce. And that's really good with the cinnamon as well. And I know I say I don't measure a lot, and I normally don't. And you'll see when I pour the pancake mix in that I'm not measuring that with this measuring cup. I do have a 1/4 cup measuring cup out, and what I'm going to do with that is use it to dip into the prepared mixture to make my pancakes all about the same size on the skillet when we get there. So that's all we're using that guy for today. I promise I'm not going back on what I've told you. So we're going to start by peeling the bananas, getting those in the bowl, and we're going to mash the bananas all up. Okay gang, we've got our ripe bananas in the bowl. Take your fork or your masher, whatever you're using, and mash them up. I start by mashing everything, and then I come back and kind of give it a good stir. The bananas almost seem to liquefy a little bit when you do this. And I want to get everything good and mashed up before I add anything else into the mix here, because, you know, make a mess if you throw your extracts in too early. So I'm just going to stir that down off the sides here. Sorry for all the clanking noise. Notice most of my bowls are metal, so they do make a noise there a little bit. And go ahead and just kind of give it a good stir. You see how even after the mashing, once you start stirring it around, then the consistency changes just a little bit. Is that on camera? Can everybody see that? In order to reach and have the camera getting everything, I can't see the camera, so here we are. Okay, so you see how that's, I don't want to say soupy, but it's a lot more loose than it was a minute ago just from stirring it around after mashing it. So now I'm going to add my flavors in, and the last thing I'm going to do is add in the pancake mix. Darn it, I forgot water. We're going to need a little bit of water, gang. I'll get that in just a minute. So I'm going to start with some cinnamon. And again, if cinnamon's not your thing, just skip this step. I go in pretty heavy because the pancake mix is very bland, in my opinion. So the cinnamon's in there. I'm going to give that a stir around. Oops. I'm going to elbow the camera. Do all kinds of tricks for you guys here today. Okay. One moment. Okay, a little kerfuffle with the dogs. I'm back, sorry about that. Next I'm going to go in with my butter extract, and I would guesstimate, it ran down so you can't even really see it on camera probably, 1/8 to 1/4 teaspoon. Go to your taste. I go heavier with the vanilla than I do with the butter extract, if that is any type of guide for you there. And then I go in with the vanilla extract, like I said, heavier, so probably a teaspoon, teaspoon and a half. Let's call that 2 teaspoons. And we're going to give another mix here. I want the flavors all throughout the bananas before I add the bland powder with the rise agent and all of that in there. And then I'm simply going to go over top and I'm going to add in pancake mix to cover everything. Try to get the rest to go back into the box. I'm going to give that a little stir just to mix the banana around. Not too much because it'll get doughy pretty quick on you, as you can see. And then I'm going to grab some water. Okay, I've got water here, and I'm just going to mix in a little bit at a time. Spread it around the dish. I normally don't even use the measuring cup. I just go to the tap and fill it a little bit at a time. So can't tell you exactly how much we're going to use here, and it depends on how much of the powder you actually put in. We're going to go until we get to a certain consistency. Everything's mixed in. We want it, I don't know, thick but loose. I'll show you when we get there. Okay, we're going to mix a little bit more, and you notice I'm not over mixing as I do this. I'm just going until I get a little bit of resistance, and that's when I know I need to add. See, there's still powder on the side of the bowl here. That's too thick, so I'm going to go a little bit more. You can always add more. Taking it out, a bit more of a challenge. And I'll be honest with you guys, I told you I learned to cook from somebody who didn't measure a whole lot. This one I actually got at a job I worked at. I worked at Dairy Queen for a time, just the dessert side of things, and where you make your own waffle cones. And this is how the manager taught me on my first day how to make the waffle cones. You just put some of the powder in and you add a little bit of water at a time until it's the right consistency. Literally did not measure anything, even at a restaurant. So it's just the way of things. I guess I was meant to learn to eyeball it and not use, you know, those measuring devices, except to pour my water around. So here we are. That looks like a pretty good amount, and you don't want to overmix. So we're going to let that sit for a few minutes and then give it one more mix before we put the batter onto the skillet. In the meantime, while this is resting, I'm going to go ahead, and I've got my scoop I'm going to use to get it onto the skillet. I'm going to preheat my skillet because we want the skillet nice and warm before we start to put any of the batter on. That's what gives you that nice brown sear on the pancakes. Okay, so in the meantime, while my batter was resting, I'm going to give that one little stir here while I talk to you. Then I went ahead and cleaned up my counter space, and I got my skillet preheating. So I'm going to do just a little sprinkle of water test. Looks like it's hot enough for us. I grab my little batter scraper here. I'll scooch over a bit so you can see all the action. Okay, and I've got a plate off to the side to put the finished product on. So with the 1/4 cup, we like smaller hotcakes, so I'm going to go about 3/4 full. These will get bigger as you put them onto the heat. And if you're not a fan of banana, you could certainly, as I said earlier, use some applesauce if you like, or you can leave them plain and throw some chocolate chips on once they're on the griddle. I've also I've done this, and I've put blueberries with the banana. So fresh blueberries, and what I do is I put the batter onto the skillet. Just set that down for a minute, and then drop the blueberries on as it starts to set up. You'll notice the bubbles start bursting around the edges. I usually wait until we get bubbles nearer to the center that actually come up and then it burst, and then they seem to be ready to flip at that stage. So at this point on out, it's just making hot cakes. If you haven't done it before, give it a go. It's not that tricky, especially if you have a mix. I don't do everything from scratch, but even if I use a helper like a mix, or even when I do like a frozen pizza, I add to it to make things taste better. I'll add ingredients, I'll add flavoring. Just how I like to do things, and that's basically what I'm showing you here on the channel. Not everything's going to be scratch made because not all of us have time for that. Well aware of that. And for the people that do, good on you, but that's not the world I live in. So we can see how they're puffing up here on the edges a little bit, and we've got bubbles coming up to burst. I'm starting to get some toward the center, so I'm going to check my first one. There we go. And if they're a little too dark, turn your flame down. I was at a medium heat, so I was at a 5. I'm going to push it toward a 4. And then you only take a minute on the other side, really. Nice fluffy pancakes. Got chunks of banana in there with the vanilla, the butter extract, and then of course, and the cinnamon. And you know, top it with whatever you like. There's some nice flavored syrups available. You can go with the traditional maple syrup if you like. There is a cinnamon syrup around that I've enjoyed pretty pretty good with these. You know, but always go with your own taste. If you have sugar issues, then maybe skip the syrup. I flip back over one time to make sure the bottom's done, and then that's it, folks. Off the griddle onto the plate, and we're going to repeat with scoops of batter until we get all the batter cooked up. So I hope you try it out. Let me know if you enjoy it, how it goes for you. Thanks for stopping by. We'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.